believe in the Lord, Joseph?
Yes, I do. But he's been blind to what's going on out here for a long time. Understand this. When we lay our heads down out here, we're all prisoners. No, I've killed everything that's walked or crawled. If you do it enough, you get used to it. That's what I'm afraid of.
Ready, thank you.
Hey, Jamal.
How you doing?
Very well, thanks, man.
Scott, and to you guys too, the SAG got it wrong. This should have been an ensemble nomination by far. I mean, I think as a whole cast, you guys exemplified like great characters on screen. So congratulations.
Thank you, Jamal.
on that.
Thank you very much, man.
This story, I mean, I'm curious as to what drove you through the screenplay and how you were able to achieve this story without giving us the same visuals we usually get in these Western stories where we have one villain as one person's the villain and one person isn't. Like, you achieved a parody of...
Well, thanks. I mean, it was very clear to me as I was writing it and directing it that we're living in very dark and polarizing times. There's a vast racial and cultural divide. As I was writing it, we were dealing with Ferguson, we were dealing with Trayvon Martin, and it was clear to me that I needed to make a film that in very subtle ways would speak to this notion that we need to better come together and that we need to better understand one another and we need to offer one another healing and enlightenment because we're living in dark and polarizing times, and cinema at its best can speak to who we are, and it can also illuminate the best of who we are as well as it can the worst, and in doing so it allows us to better understand one another, and that's all that we can hope, because we're living amidst tough times, man.
I saw what happened to the 4th when Yellow Hawk and his dog soldiers got done with them, and there wasn't a... Don't you dare laugh. There wasn't enough left of those poor men to fill a slop pail. Understand, when we lay our heads down out here, we're all prisoners. I hate them. I got a war bag of reasons to hate them.
Do you think that there were, when you look at through history and these times that were our darkest hours, whether it be slavery or the Holocaust or what have you, do you think there was a lot of conflicted men? Because, I mean, when you look at it in the paintbrush of history, it looks like everybody was convinced and convicted on their evil and hatred, but when you look at this story, you see, like, this opportunities where people...
Yeah, I certainly hope so, because I think in people's darkest times and when they're alone, I hope that they look very deep within themselves and realize what it is that they're doing, whether it's genocide, whether it's towards those of Jewish heritage or certainly Native Americans, that they realize how is this in any way right or humane? I mean, it just is shocking to me living in 2018 that people think that way. Wes?
Oh, absolutely. Well, in terms of Yellowhawk and Blockers coming together in their own way, I think Yellowhawk is one who doesn't actually live in the misguided guilt of Blockers' existence, in terms of his hatred is actually driven not by, well, it's driven by fear and guilt. As time goes on, I think we have one character in the whole thing, a general's wife, that brings about kind of the idea of why is it that you're treating these people in this way when what they have actually done is criminalized our activities when they were actually a war kind of situation between two nations that was going on. And did we treat the Native Americans like we treated Germany and or Japan after world wars and such? No, we criminalized their activity and just simply put them in chains and in jails. Well, I think we speak to that wherein Yellowhawk has seen this all happen, And he also sees the amount of hate that has built up in the Blocker character, and really has to have a pity for this kind of situation, this kind of attitude that has risen up in not only military people, but civilians of the American European descent.
Hejoe ano, na hehets. Okstave ano, na neho.
Ni hine inos. Hina wat se ho hat.
O eha. Se verstom.
He, na metos. Woods an. Wano ots. Hot or not.
Kilcher,
Sir?
take the dress to the lady.
And lastly, Corianka, I'm gotta ask, like, as an African American, I'm oftentimes sensitive to how characters are portrayed on screen and what those stories tell. What do you think, being that you're from, a younger generation, what do you think the people, the native that's watched this film, do you think that they're empowered by these images or this story, or does it fit into a narrative that they've often seen?
This is a step in the right direction. We have a long road ahead of us, but I really hope that young Native Americans that do go see this film feel inspired to by the amazing actors, by the director, and hopefully it inspires them to want to actually start telling their own stories, because I think it's important for us to start telling our own stories. If we want them told in the right way, we need to actually take action and not retract from the world or the things because we're like, oh, this is wrong, but we need to actually realize, because I used to, oftentimes, sometimes I still do. I look at what's happening in the world and I think to myself, my God, why is nobody doing anything about these horrendous things that are happening? And then I think to myself, I am somebody. I can do something. And we all have the power of a grain of sand in a tipping scale, and sometimes all it takes is that one little grain of sand to tip the scale in a different direction. So we have to realize the power that we have on our own, and then the power that we have as a community, and coming together in unity. And we are so much stronger when we come together and unite than when we stand apart. One voice alone is strong, but a lot of voices together is even stronger. So,
Amen.
Yeah.
Thanks for those words, and thanks for a great picture and great performance.
Thank you.
Thank you.